All right. Let me start from looking at the slides. Just have a look at the slide. We have a statement or problem statement. In this case, the statement of the problem or research problem. Some books use the word research question. So research question, research problem, or statement of the problem, all are the same. I think talking about the what is it, the first thing that you have to make in starting the research. So in this case, if you have you look at the slide, there are so many topics there: introduction, literature, method, until you have a conclusion over there. So we are now going to talk about this one, introduction, or try to find out the research questions. In a research project, I think it is always that the research or researcher begins with a problem, a question or a problem. The problem should be in the form of complete questions, whether it is a question or a complete statement. What I mean is that the problem should contain, what is it, subject and predicates, in this case when you are writing a problem. So problem means things that you want to ask. Problems mean, I like to say question. Yeah, I prefer to use question rather than problems, because question means you are questioning or you are asking something before going to do the research. So the problem needs not to be earth-shaking. Your problem is not, it should not be earth-shaking. What I mean is it's not something quite new, but something relatively new, something like that. So the problem that you have to make is a problem which you can take from other problems, other researches or other research findings, but try to find or try to modify the problems and so on. But if you want to use the very new one, I think it will be very difficult for you to find the literature later on. Okay, identify this problem can actually be the hardest part of the research. And usually some beginners or beginners of researchers, I think usually have difficulties in identifying this problem or trying to find the question or research question if they do not read many things, right? About the issues that he or she wants to do the research. In general, good problem or good research problem should address an important questions and should advance knowledge, I think. And to state the problem, I think you need to state the question clearly and completely. What I mean by clearly and completely is your sentence should be complete sentence. What I mean is the sentence should contain subject and predicate in the form of questions or in the form of statement. If your research is R&D, usually the question should be, I mean, the research, the problem or the research statement should be research statement or not a problem. Okay. Once you identify a research problem, you state that problem clearly and then determine the feasibility of the research. You know, feasibility is a kind of the possibility of the research to do. If your research is not feasible, it means that it is impossible for you to do the research. So try to find the problem which can be answered later on when you do the research clearly. you have to see the possibility of your data later on, because if you cannot find your data, then the research cannot be done easily. And then identify sub problems. Usually it is not only one problem, but sometimes it contains more than one problem. For example, if you have a big problem, or that the problem is correlation, for example, then before the correlation, I think before the big problem, or the what is it, the core problem, you have several sub problems, something like that. And something like a problem might be defined as the issue. What is a problem? Then what is a research question? What is a good research questions? I think the issue is something that you raise in a research. The issue is a topic, as I told you earlier in last meeting. I mean, in last week meetings, about the whether you want to go to the the literature, or to the linguistics, or to the TESOL or TEFL or TEFL or TESOL. I think that's the issue, and take one particular points of the issue, and then you can raise the problem. First thing that you have to do before you state your problem is reading many literature on such issue, and then reading theories, and then reading more articles in the journals. I mean, the articles is the research articles, in this case, the research report articles. Try to read on that problem, the problem that you have, or on that issue, the issue that you want to raise. I think it is very important, because some students, or even some lecturers, ask their students to firstly propose a title of the research. Title doesn't represent the content of the research sometimes, and it is very difficult to to see the research based on the title. So I myself prefer to ask my students to find the research problem first. But before finding the research problem, usually my students, or the students under my advisor should try to find, or to review the literatures, the theories about the issue that he or she wants to raise. That's very important, because if you don't know about the issue, or about the literature, the current issue, the current literatures on the issue, I think it is impossible for you to raise the questions, or to find out a research problem, because research problem is a kind of literature-based questions. So it is not easy to find only by asking the question alone, something like this. Next is the effective problem statement answer the question. I mean, this is why does this research need to be conducted? There's something that you have to know also, is that if you are, as a researcher, is unable to answer the question clearly, then the statement of the problem will come off as confusing. So things that you have to do in this case is see what kinds of data will be your data. If you ask a question, then clearly you have to find the expected data or data. If your data is not clear, then it is very difficult. Your risk will be. So try to find the data, the feasibility in this case of your research. Key points to prepare the research statement, or the research question, is that try to incorporate a sentence that begins with the purpose of the study. Something like if you read if you read articles in some journals, you see the beginning parts of the, or in the end parts of the background, usually the researcher or the author write down the word like this: the purpose of the study is blah, blah, blah. This is to clarify that actually the research question of the study is like that. But when you write down a thesis or a scriptsy, then your research questions should be in the form of questions, of course, and clarify the identify and define the central concept or idea of the research. This is research objective. I think the research objective is against of research purpose. The statement or the affirmative forms of the research questions. If you have a research question, then your research objective should be in line with the research question in the form of affirmative sentence. Why should research objectives be developed? This will be talking about the question of why it is important. Why is it important to develop the research question, or in this case is the research objectives? Because it will be your focus. So your focus will be on answering these questions. Okay, I think I skipped this one. Okay, this is what is it? This is some examples of what is it of the research questions in I mean, in terms of because we are talking about quantitative research. Quantitative research is usually looking at the variables. Yeah, it is for this slide. I think it's for qualitative research. Yeah, that's okay. Just see this as a complete sentence. What I mean by complete sentence is that the question should be in the form of complete sentence. So be careful. Usually, some students are making mistakes on such kinds of things like grammar, your grammars, or your even your sentence is not a complete sentence when you ask questions. Yeah. Remember that asking question in this case is a real question, a complete sentence. For example, this one: how do you make your data? This is a complete sentence, right? The auxiliary, you have subject, you have verb, and so on. How will the concept meet the criteria, and so on. So you have, but if you do like this, for example, you have how to make students interested foreign language, for example. This is not a complete sentence. Usually the student miss some auxiliary words, for example. So you have to be careful firstly when you want to to make a questions. Okay, for example, this one, this actually these are questions from a student assignment. Is literature important to students? This question is very broad and very wide, I think. Do you have any expectation about this all in the future, for example? This is also very broad question. So what I mean by a question in a research is a question that should be specified into several points. I mean, in this case, you have to see again your core issue, yeah, your issue. This is an example of good questions, good research questions. You know, you have things that is very important in this as a real concept that you know, variable that you want to to investigate. For example, does a silent short movie will be your variable, right? Give significant effect to what the students' writing achievement. The writing achievement is also your second variable, and you also have the locations, yeah, locus of the question. in the 10th grade students of SMK 6 Samarinda, for example. So the first question, look at the first question. It is a question of a long question, complete questions, and it also includes variables. At least you can see there are two variables, at least the variable of short movie, silent short movie, and the variable of writing achievement, for example. So in this case, it is clear what you are going to do in the research. Number two, for example, it is also clear questions. Is there any significant effect of extensive reading? Extensive reading will be your a variable, for example, or students EFL reading attitude. Attitude is also will be your your variable. So you have two variables if you choose this one, for example. What about the or the third questions? It is also the good questions by seeing the L2 exposure environment and the what is it? This is non-native English teachers' beliefs about atmosphere of the out-of-class learning. For example, there are two different kinds of variables. So in a quantitative research, you have to see, you have to be able to put your variables when you are going to write down research questions. See the variable. What about if there is no variable? At least you have one variable. For example, if you want to make a kinds of survey on the conditions of English course in Samarinda, for example, then you are talking about one variable question, like what are the what is the condition, what are the teachers quality, what are the what is it, infrastructure of facility, class facilities, what are the IT and so on. So you try to find several things, and the things would be answered by giving instrument of questionnaires, for example, to the English courses in Samarinda. So you are very open in this case, whether you use the association variables or only one variables to ask question, or only to ask question of the condition of certain variables. But the most important thing in a quantitative research is that the variable. So later on we have the topic of variables. Okay, next. So these are the variable of those those questions. Now, after you find out the problems or research questions, the next step that you have to take is to build or to construct a background. Background is very important because it indicates your what is it? Your concept, your novelty over there. Novelty is the new thing that you have to investigate in your research. So background indicates that you can answer the question of why do you what is it, why do you do this topic, why do you investigate this topic. So the question of that is very important, and the answer of that question is very important, because if you propose a title or what is it, a proposal, research proposal, then the first question should be, why are you interested in doing such topic or investigating such issue? And this could be answered in a background. So the backgrounds mean the introduction parts of the paper. When you provide the informational background, I think first thing that you have to do is see the theory. Don't talk too many big things. So just see the theory, or say something general about the topic. For example, if your topic is the silent short movie, for example, and the achievement of reading, for example, then try to talk about reading directly. Don't talk about English as a second language, English as a what is a means of communication. That would be too broad, right? So just talk about the things, but things that will be very important in the background is how can you, what is it, how can you convince the readers that actually it is still a need to investigate such kinds of issue. That is the most important thing. How will we convince such issue is still important to investigate by saying some research findings before, I mean the previous research findings. So say some what is it, some articles, say some research report on that particular issue during the 3 years later, late 3 years, yeah. Try to find such thing. If there is still what is a gap, I mean still things to, what is it, to investigate, things important to raise, I think this should be very good. I mean your background would be very good. Therefore, when you begin this section, I mean the background section, you just make a clear and simple formulation of your questions in the end of the background, after you clarify the findings, clarify the importance of the thing to investigate, and so on. So background, don't use the background too many, I mean too broad. The principle is like what is it? Later on I will give you this background. So this is the strategy, yeah, the strategy that you can take to create a background. First of all, create reader interest in the topic. Create reader interest, I mean reader's interest means try to say something that this topic is very important. Okay, and then arrange the broad foundations for the problem that leads to the study. So broad foundation of the problem means there should be any theoretical backgrounds of your issue. For example, if you, okay, your issue is raising the relationship between achievement in reading and anxiety, for example, then there should be what is some books saying anxiety in reading, right, and saying the reading achievement. Okay, that's the first thing, that you have to provide a kinds of background, or a kinds of theoretical background, and then place the study within a larger context of the scholarly literature. What I mean by scholarly literature in this case is the previous research findings. So after you put the background that, okay, my issue is under the, what is it, the existing background. It means that your problem, I mean your issue is quite popular in that particular science field of study. So people will know this vocab about these dictions. I mean the what is it, the variable you raised. Otherwise, people cannot recognize your variable. If you don't have any theoretical background, then people or the readers will ask you some question about the legitimitations of the issue. Is the issue parts of the field of TESOL or something like that? And then after this, you give some findings, previous findings, and then after you do the two things, the research findings and the background, theoretical backgrounds, then where does this research question come from? If it arises out of a debate in the literature, introduce that debate. If there are some controversial result of the previous research, then you can put the controversy, the opinions, put opinions. But if not, that's okay. Just say that you need to clarify this, or you need to, what is it, to make many practical information about this, because it is rarely used, or it is rarely investigated by other, for example. So just like this. Clarify and quantify any concept which may not be clear. There are some concept which is which needs answer or confirmations. I think you need to put it there also. And just in a big picture, you can see these slides. This is the way to, what is it, to make a background. Like something like very beginning, in the very beginning of the paragraph, you state something about state of the art in the field. What I mean by state of the art in the field is, as I told you earlier, you have to, what is it, to say something about the theoretical background of your issue. Is your issue included in some parts of the theory? And then you say something about that. And then previous studies, that's about the research result in the article. So at least you read 5 or more articles, recent articles about your topics. And sometimes if you have preliminary experiences, it's okay, you can put it over there. For example, the class, what's happening in the class. But be careful with this one. If you want to put the experiences or your own experiences, you have to be able to show the data. For example, if you say so far the teaching of reading is not good because blah blah blah, so you have to put the, what is it, the score of the students, for example, not only saying or claiming such thing. And why the research is important, this is a significance of the study. I think thing that you have to raise in this part is saying that the research is very important. If you can, what is it, if you can write down properly the background, I think it is very easy to write these parts. Significance of study, I think usually you have theoretical and practical. Theoretical means in theory your research finding would be like that, and practically means in practice. And review of literature, I think this is things that you have to also to do. Later on we talk about this in particular what is a particular topic, but that's okay. I'd like to give you the topic of this one. Literature review means this is the chapter 2. Yeah, a literature review is a necessity. I mean, this step will give underline background, the theoretical background of your study. So that's why you need many theories, and read the literature, read the what is it, the theory in books, and read many articles. It means that the research findings. If you want to see the article, just go to Simago. This is one of the, what is it, the data management in an article of the research. Simago, go to Simago and write down the journal. If the journal is here, you can put in the enter journal title, the title of the journal, not the title of the articles, the journal. See the journal and then click the search, and then you will see if there is no information at all about your journal, then the journal is not in reputable journal. But this is very, what is it, very reputable, very high journal. So at least you have 1 or 2 of that journal in Simago. But you can also have the other journal. This is the journal that you can see in Simago. ASEAN EFL, Asia TEFL, those journals are free. So you can download freely all the contents or the full text of the journal. Malaysian Journal of Learning and Instruction, International Journal of English Teaching, International of Language, Literature, and Social Science. And there are so many good journals over there.